and welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Stephanie. I am here today and delighted to be interviewing Stephanie Lee. We have the same name, which is so exciting. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Yay! So I would love to give the audience an idea of who you are, what you're up to, and what kind of magic you're making in the world.
Sure. Oh, thank you. I like the way you put that. So I am a healthy weight loss behavior coach, and I help women in particular to be able to live their best and healthiest lives.
Excellent. And honestly, right up my alley because I am I'm in that journey right now.
Yeah.
So we're talking about letting it go or not letting it go, and really focusing on healthy eating during stressful times like the holidays. But honestly,
Mhm.
we have stress all the time, so it's
All
relevant all
the
the time.
time. Yeah.
So I'd love to chat a little bit about the research you did. You mentioned that you've got some statistics to share. So let's start there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because everywhere you look, you can find different statistics, but the bottom line is the numbers are huge. And one of the studies that I found, it was from the CDC, and I think this was done in 2022. And they were saying that 42% of adults in the US are identified as either obese or overweight. And then when you add the overweight component in, that number can increase. And this was the one that was particularly staggering to me was almost 20% of the children in this country are also identified as obese. And so, our as adults, we're not demonstrating the best options for our children.
Oh yeah.
So that's a whole nother topic, but it just fascinated me that this is what's happening. And they're expecting by 2030, of course, the numbers are going up every year. And by 2030, it'll be even more. But the thing that I find most disturbing about this, because a statistic is a statistic, and it's like, well, what does that have to do with me?
Right.
Well, what I find is that we're talking now diabetes, we're talking about heart conditions, we're talking about ultimately dementia, which is starting to happen earlier and earlier for people. Alzheimer's, things of that nature are all impacted by those statistics. And so our healthcare system is being really just really hit hard
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
from something that really we can do something about,
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yep.
it breaks my heart when I hear a story about someone who has had, some condition, either died from it or is having debilitating life circumstances where they're just not able to have good quality of life. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I actually watched my dad go through this journey. I became a wellness coach because of my dad, because I wanted more people to understand that we have control when you take personal responsibility. Actually, I just posted something about this on Facebook
yeah,
today about taking personal responsibility. It was such a huge impact on me watching him eat his way to death. I mean,
mhm.
he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure when I was 17 years old. He was just in his 40s, so younger than me right now. He was then later, I think about 6 or 7 years later, diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And it just progressively got worse and worse and worse until there was a diagnosis for kidney failure.
Oh
And
my
my
gosh.
mom did all this research on kidney disease and solutions, like food wise solutions,
Mhm.
switched him completely over to a paleo diet, and he
Oh,
healed his kidneys with food.
wow.
Like, okay, that is powerful. That was before I became a wellness coach. And I
Yeah.
watched him get healthier. And I thought, okay, maybe there's a solution. Maybe he can heal and he can be healthier, maybe even
Mhm.
more curious. So I started
Mhm.
researching nutrition and fitness and holistic wellness. And like I had all this knowledge. And I came to my dad. I'm like, Daddy, we can help you heal. There is a solution. You could actually live a healthy life and not have heart disease and diabetes. And what do you think of that? He's like, I would love that. I was like, okay, well, let's try this. And he lasted a couple weeks on a plant-based diet. He couldn't handle it. He's like, Steffi, I miss my meat. I can't do this. I'm like, oh, Dad. So ultimately, what I learned with my dad is that you really can't help people when they're not ready to be helped. So they really have to be helped. They have to be ready, and how do we get them ready? I know that statistics can be like devastating if you look at these numbers and apply them to humanity. But really, when you look at the personal stories, so
Mhm.
I'd love to hear about your personal story. What got you interested into researching this very sad data?
Yeah, well, I actually really struggled with weight from a very young age. And it didn't bother me as a kid, but when I became a teenager and boys became a part of the picture, then it became an issue. And it was more of the aesthetics. It wasn't, I mean, I could care less about my health in my teen years, but over time, as the years progressed, I was still struggling. And so I would do these extreme diets. I would lose the weight, but I wasn't able to sustain it. So then in my 40s, I started teaching fitness. And that really helped in just sort of living a more healthy lifestyle and so forth. But I was still struggling with my core issues around food. And I realized that as a fitness instructor, people would look at me and think, oh, she doesn't have a problem with that. And I was like, yeah, I do. And so that's when I decided I need to really start talking about this. And, we are at a place in our world now where we don't, this isn't a joke anymore. We can't, I'm going to start that diet on Monday or, I'll start January 1st or whatever it is. That's not today.
Right.
Yeah. That we just need to start taking those baby steps. It doesn't have to be a huge 0 to 60 change. We can just take those little 0 to 1, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and start making those incremental changes. Yeah.
When we start addressing these things, I mean, I know from a personal standpoint, I've struggled with the same things my dad has with my weight and my diet and lack of exercise. I live a sedentary lifestyle. Like, there are things that I know better, and yet
Hmm.
I don't live as healthy as I could.
Hmm.
And I know that there are things that I need to do. And so, like, the things that I do, I make sure that I eat at least 7 servings of fruits and vegetables every day,
Awesome.
usually more than that. I take a multivitamin every single day. I drink lots of water. I usually switch from 1 cup of coffee in the morning to water for the rest of the day, and
Uh-huh.
alcohol.
Hmm.
Like, there are things that I avoid and things that I do that are healthy choices.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet, where is the fitness? Where's the exercise? I'm not getting off my butt.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I know that as a wellness coach, I know that.
Right.
In fact, I stopped coaching a long time ago, 2018, because I realized that I wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. And how could
Hmm.
I reflect that to my clients?
Hmm.
Oh, and so
Right.
I've been on this journey since then to really discover, like, what are my food addictions and what are my unhealthy habits, and
Hmm.
how can I resolve these things? Uh,
Hmm.
I'd love to hear your perspective, like habits and behavior change. What do you think as far as like actions? What can people do?
Well, one of the things we know that doesn't work, because we've been trying it for years and years and years, and it's that concept of move more, eat less. it's a great concept, but the application is not really realistic.
It's totally
Because
not.
we really,
Yeah.
yeah, we really need to identify what it is. We choose foods for a certain reason. All of our behavior has a reason. We don't just do things because it seems like, okay, I'll just do this right now. But there's a reason behind it. And in terms of food in particular, usually we eat either because we are feeling overwhelmed or stressed.
Mhm.
Sometimes we eat because we work hard or we worked hard and we feel like we deserve it. Sometimes we eat because we feel lonely or undervalued.
Mhm.
And then the one that is my thing mostly is that sensory experience of food. So if I'm feeling antsy or just unmotivated,
Mhm.
then food can be like a soothing experience for me.
Yeah.
So those are kind of generally the four, if you will, kind of topic or general behavior areas that make us choose certain types of food
Mhm.
versus others and at certain times. So sometimes we might be able to control that. So to be able to say to someone, okay, let's say you eat, or I'm just going to pick a topic. Let's say you you eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's every night.
My God.
So I know well, some people do that. And so to say to someone, well, stop doing that. Well,
Why
that's
should
not
I?
very effective, right?
Right.
Right? It's like, okay, but the Ben and Jerry's is I'm getting something from this. So what we need to look at then is, is it the sensory? Is it the more that you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and
Right.
what is it?
Emotional
And
response.
so, right. And so then what we want to do is find something to replace that gives you the same benefit, but is also going to be a healthier choice, but still tasty. So we don't want to try to throw something in there that's not going to be beneficial. So you were saying how that exercise is a key component, and so what what stops you from from doing that?
Personally, it's pain.
Hmm.
I'm in a lot of pain and it's all over my body. And I've been
Hmm.
on this journey. So, like the healing part of my journey and like resolving my pain, it has been over 3 years to
Hmm.
a point that I am filing for disability. I am really, really struggling with pain. It's affecting everything in my life. So, I don't know what I could do to get myself moving again. I think maybe swimming. Maybe
Hmm.
I could get
Hmm.
myself to a gym that has a pool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could get in the pool. I love water. I could definitely swim and it wouldn't hurt my body.
Yeah.
So, like as far as a first step, I could probably do that. There would be an expense paying for a gym. But what is that? 20, $30 a month? It's not a huge commitment. If you're a senior
Mhm.
citizen, you got Medicaid, you got silver sneakers, it's free.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there are ways to get us into gyms. In fact, there's so many gyms out there competing that you can even join a gym for $1 now.
Yeah. 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 Especially in coming with the new year too. The
Yeah. So I
price
mean,
wars are crazy.
I think self-motivation is one of the things that I've struggled the most with, and
Hmm.
a lot of people do. Like, how do
Hmm.
you get yourself motivated if you don't have a cheerleader, you don't have a coach, you don't have
Hmm.
someone that can tell you you're worth it and you should do this,
Hmm.
if you're
Hmm.
not in that position, then where does the self-motivation come from? And
Right.
it
And we,
really comes from understanding and going back to our original conversation, personal responsibility, understanding that we're responsible for this. I am responsible for my body. I'm responsible for my own emotions. I'm responsible for the way that I eat, how I eat, what I eat, how I live my life. I'm
Yeah,
responsible for all of these things. So
yeah.
taking that personal responsibility is one of those first steps.
Hmm.
But then
Hmm.
what are the action items? And
Hmm.
sometimes it does have to be a baby step. I can go to a gym
Hmm.
once a week. I think I can commit to that,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know? And
Yeah,
that then you slowly move in the direction of a healthier lifestyle. I think that's a
yeah,
huge component
yeah,
of change.
absolutely. And I agree with the slowly moving into it, but I think you could even go even slower. So, just getting to a gym can be overwhelming in and
Definitely.
of itself. And if you've never been in a gym, it can be very intimidating just to walk into the place. So what about, especially when being in a lot of pain, what about doing just a little bit of movement in a chair? Um,
I
you
do.
know.
I
Mhm.
so I'm a certified yoga teacher, and so
Mhm.
I know how to move.
Yeah.
I do Pilates. I do a little bit of chair yoga. I do
Mhm.
still meditate. So
Mhm.
things that I incorporate, but I know that it's not really making a huge impact. I probably have more strength than I would if I wasn't doing things.
Mhm.
But
Right.
also part of the reason I do Pilates is because it helps the pain. It helps me
Uh-huh.
solve some of the pain.
Mhm.
Same with the stretching with yoga. It's more
Yeah.
about I'm motivated because it hurts and I'm gonna
Yeah.
move so that I can let it go a little bit.
Yeah.
Um there honestly I don't even think people realize that. you know,
Mhm.
Ooh,
Mhm.
and it's going to warm the muscles. It's going to allow some of the
Right.
pain to dissipate.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's just so much wisdom. The reason I started Wellness Wednesdays podcast is because I wanted people to know these things. I wanted to give them
Mhm.
access to the knowledge. So
Yeah.
appreciate you, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having this
Yeah.
conversation. Um,
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about your services and what you offer.
Absolutely. So I've kind of alluded to it. My approach is very individual. So what might be important to you might not be important to another person. So we really just address your top two priorities in either healthy lifestyle or weight loss. They kind of go hand in hand, but
Oh yeah.
sometimes people want to focus more on the weight loss than the healthy lifestyle. And I just kind of sneak that little healthy lifestyle in there.
It's
But
it's like a result, isn't it? You know?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it really is. Yeah. And so we start with identifying that for you, and I think it's really important to remember that sometimes we'll decide, okay, today I'm going to start that diet and I'm going to start eating. I'm going to work out 7 days a week and I'm going to do this. And again, it's that 0 to 60 in a day. But in the meantime, our life is still happening. So the stressors that we have today are still going to be there tomorrow. And then you're going to add this other component on top of that. And it's just generally it's not going to be sustainable over a long period of time. And so, what my goal is with each individual is identify where are your areas that we need to focus on. And then let's take those little tiny baby steps and we keep adding on to them. And then eventually we get to the 60. If we even need to get there, we might not need to get to 60 miles an hour.
Yeah,
You might find tremendous results somewhere between where you are and where you ultimately want to be.
that's true. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And how can people reach you?
Well, I have a website. It is the Lee Method, and it's just all together, TheLeeMethod.com. And information is there about me and what my services that I offer. And there's also, you'll see a little telephone with my picture on it. And then below it, there's links for you to contact me either by email, phone, or Facebook.
Perfect. And of
Yeah.
course, all of those links will be shared in the description below. So
Yes.
if you're watching or listening, you will find that information. And any final thoughts or inspiration you'd like to share?
I just think it's so important to know yourself and what your needs are, as opposed to trying to take what somebody else is telling you you need. And you know, sometimes we need assistance in guidance, accountability, things like that. I'm here to help with that. You're here to help with that, and there's others out there as well. So yeah, just taking those baby steps.
Mhm. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Stephanie. This has been a very, I think, one of the most important conversations I've had on this podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. It was really nice talking with you.
Yeah.
Mhm.